to change, you filthy animal.
Yippee-ki-yay!
You fidget now you doubt, fair dear.
Shaken, not stirred.
You talking to me?
You're a wizard, Harry.
I volunteer as tribute.
Sometimes I doubt your commitment to sparkle motion.
Deirdre Chambers.
What a coincidence.
That's so fat.
How? Woo.
Wakanda forever!
Welcome back, my darlings, to Not My Genre, the Fireteller Film Review. Today, we're reviewing Lightyear. I'm Nate.
And I'm Will, and we are Fireteller Film and Story. We're a video production house based in Perth in Little Western Australia. We're storytellers. We love stories.
Love it.
And we're story educators. So we have a book and an e-course coming out very soon.
Stay tuned. Watch this space. It's coming out. So, what else? Well,
what else?
How have you been, my darling?
I've been pretty good. It feels good to get back into doing podcasts.
Yeah, it does. It has been a while, but you know what? We've been so busy. We've been, you know what's really cool?
We bought houses.
We bought a house each.
Yes.
Our business is going good.
Yeah.
We bought a house each. We've started traveling again since COVID.
It's been amazing, hasn't it?
Yeah. I know.
Getting on a plane again.
Yeah.
Having to sanitize the whole seat.
Absolutely. I mean, we went to Bali about 4 weeks ago. That was amazeballs.
Then we filmed in Broome.
We filmed in
Melbourne.
We filmed in Darwin as well.
Darwin. Well, Darwin was back in April, but those three places you just mentioned were all in the last 3 weeks. I know.
Well, I'm just since the last podcast, but we've been doing a lot of travel.
It's good. Back at it.
Yeah, to infinity and beyond.
To infinity and beyond. Lightyear.
Frothing at the mouth.
Let's not froth. You're a big frother.
Hey, look.
You like a bit of froth.
Listen, I've had enough of you already. Can you please just tell us what the damn film is about?
Great. So here's the synopsis. While spending years attempting to return home, marooned space ranger Buzz Lightyear encounters an army of ruthless robots commanded by Zurg, who are attempting to steal his fuel source.
You didn't read that at all from IMDb, did you?
That was straight off the top of my head.
It was from IMDb.
Okay, thanks, IMDb.
Hey, look, for those who have just tuned in, hi, welcome. We love to focus on the story and the screenplay. Story. We celebrate storytellers.
We do.
Instead of telling us who directed this film, Will, why don't you tell us?
Look, the director is important.
We're not
important,
saying
that, but we are focusing on stories.
Everyone's important in the film, but this is a story podcast. So tell us who did the story and screenplay.
Great. So the story was by Angus MacFarlane, who was also the director.
Yes.
Matthew Aldrich and Jason Headley. The screenplay by Jason Headley and Angus MacFarlane.
He's frothing at the mouth
today.
today.
I hope I pronounced Headley wrong. Is it Headley or...
I think it's Headley, yeah.
Great.
And as you said, directed by Angus MacFarlane, who, by the way, co-directed Finding Dory with Andrew Stanton.
I actually loved Finding Dory.
So did I.
Really good. I thought it was a great sequel.
Really great sequel.
You know, when you do a sequel and you take, you put the other character, the sidekick or however you want to call it.
The polar character.
The polar character. Was Dory a polar character, though?
I haven't seen it in a while. In Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo.
No, I don't think she was.
I don't think so. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I don't think she was. And she was possibly the protagonist in Finding Dory?
I think so.
Yeah. Not sure, though. Haven't seen it in a while.
Haven't seen it in a while. But may I just say, with Finding Dory, what they did great with that sequel was that they did take Dory and they gave her an arc instead. Instead of trying to give the protagonist a new arc. You know that a lot of sequels do that?
Well, she was probably the protagonist then, wasn't she? Well,
that's what I mean.
Do you know what I'm noticing a lot lately? I'm, watching 1,000 films a day almost, and I'm, looking at who does the story and the screenplay and director.
Yeah.
What I'm noticing a lot lately in the past few years is that the director is usually involved in the screenplay these days.
Yeah, okay.
And back in the day, you didn't see that. It was kind of like, the writers.
There was an element of that, wasn't there? They were separate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's that about? I mean, I know a lot of directors like to write their own stuff because they intimately know the story when they've done it that way. I mean, I've directed and you've directed too, short films, and documentaries, and also all our video work that we do here. But I know...
And we have directed everything that we've written, really.
Oh, yeah.
Everything,
except
really.
Maybe back in the university days, I think we...
that was a long time ago.
I directed a script that I didn't write.
That was a long time ago for you,
That was a long time ago. It's longer for you.
Excuse me? Who do you think you are?
But my point is that I think as a writer, you get to intimately know the source material, and to be able to come along and just pick up a script, you just wouldn't have the same intimacy with the content as a director. I think.
Well, you'd hope that they would. But
you hope that they would, but it requires the director to do their own work.
Yeah. I think there's something really kind of powerful about paving your way through a story, not knowing
God, yes.
at all, not having
cutting through
anything
the thorns.
to relate to and to forge it yourself. I mean, adapting something from a pre-written screenplay is one thing, but actually having to completely come up with something creative, that's a remarkable, powerful, vulnerable thing to do.
It is, yeah. It takes a lot.
Look, we should probably get on to Lightyear.
Yes.
What do you think? Hey, what is your first impressions? Score.
First impressions.
Oh my God, what was that?
I thought I would surprise you.
You loaded it up.
I
with
loaded it
sound
up.
effects. I actually love the beagle.
Stop it. Look, there might be a few more surprises.
Play it again.
Surprises.
Play it again.
Okay, I'm going to play it again. Okay. Ready?
First impressions.
Wow. Oh God. This is what happens when you leave him alone, everyone.
Stop. I had to play with a toy. Speaking of toys, let's get on to Buzz Lightyear, to Infinity and Beyond.
Now, we should just mention that Buzz's voice has actually been replaced for this film. So in Toy Story 1 to 4, he was voiced by Tim Allen, but in this film, he's voiced by Chris Evans.
Well, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people are saying this is a prequel. People are saying that this is a spin-off. What is it? Will, tell us about it.
Well, I don't think it is either of those. I think it's something else. I think it's we're creating a new universe here. We're introducing ourselves to a whole new host of characters. There's nothing really related between the Buzz Lightyear toy and the Buzz Lightyear character. You know?
I would argue that there might be a few things related.
Okay, there's a few things related in terms of probably his character and personality in some ways.
Well, I mean, what's really interesting about this film is that it does exist in the Toy Story universe, but as a film that Andy saw.
That's right, yeah.
Which inspired him to get his Buzz Lightyear toy in Toy Story 1.
Yeah.
And we saw that really clearly at the beginning of this. Text came up on the screen and it said, this is the film that Andy saw back in, pre-1995, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting way to do things, actually.
Highly
we're seeing
creative.
This sort of more common these days. Like Marvel have their What If series, which is through the metaverse, connected through the metaverse.
Yeah, you've
they
spoken
reimagine.
a lot about that. Yeah,
they reimagine their characters, but in completely different roles.
Yeah,
and different storylines and different events happening.
Yeah,
and they're able to extend those storylines of those characters, far beyond the ones that we know and love.
Yeah,
well, you don't love, but
Yeah, I don't love them. I don't like them at all. Actually.
And then another film that came to mind that sort of reimagined the context was something like The Matrix 4.
Oh, but that didn't land.
We didn't
like
me.
that.
No, yeah. I didn't get that one.
Way too meta.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So Buzz Lightyear for me was getting into that meta realm where they start to reanalyze the context of the original series.
But it was such a simple way to do it compared to, say,
it was
The Matrix
elegant,
4.
actually, wasn't it?
Very. It was just... it. I loved it. I'll be honest, I'd heard it was going to be something like that as I went in, but I thought it was actually going to be like the real human Buzz Lightyear. I knew it was animation, but like in the context of the world of Toy Story, I thought it was going to be the real Buzz Lightyear.
Who is the real Buzz Lightyear?
What I mean, the human.
Oh, you mean?
I thought Buzz Lightyear was a real person in the Toy Story world, like an actual real
person.
person.
Right, not a character.
Not a character, like a real person in the Toy Story, and that the toy Buzz was based on a real person. I didn't realize.
So you thought they had like space rangers in his universe? Well, real space rangers?
Listen, you can get in
Did
the
you
corner.
think it was a sci-fi?
You can get in the corner and stop frothing.
I think it was based in 1995.
Yeah. Anywho.
Anyway, back to Chris Evans. I think I heard that Tim Allen wasn't even asked about this, so he wasn't even requested to come back in any way. They originally obviously had decided, during the production that they wanted Chris Evans.
Yeah, I mean, I've read that the reason why they replaced him, and they keep going on about, it's not the same character. It's this is the movie version versus the toy version. But I accepted it. I thought, that's okay. You can get a new actor to play the new Buzz Lightyear if Buzz was a real person in the story world. But now knowing that he was an actual character, right? Why couldn't in the world of the world of Toy Story? Why couldn't they have used the same actor to voice the recorded stuff in the toy?
Yeah, it is a bit interesting like that. And also, I really noticed that Chris Evans is putting on Tim Allen's Buzz Lightyear voice. I mean, I was watching it, I knew that it was Chris Evans, but I was watching it going, that sounds just like Tim Allen.
Tim Allen.
So why?
I know.
What was the point?
Well, You know, the filmmakers have said that the reason why they wanted Chris Evans is because they needed, because, you know, this film is a lot more dramatic. It has a lot more sort of emotional gravitas. They wanted somebody with a bit more star power. They wanted somebody who could relay the drama over, say, the over
Tim the Tall Man.
Tim the Tall Man. Well, the over dramatized, you know, Buzz Lightyear is the toy, which is he's meant to be the comic relief in Toy Story. You know, whereas in this one, he's not the comic relief. You got, you know, the cat.
That is true. You know, Buzz Lightyear in the Toy Story films is played as a little bit dull, a little bit dumb.
And we laugh about that.
Yeah,
it's funny.
That's right.
Whereas this one, he's sort of, you know, he's the main man. And
Yeah,
we have the other characters.
We've got to put
that
all our faith and belief in him because he's, you know, the fate of the world
That's right.
rests on his shoulders.
But I think that's an absolute insult to Tim Allen, right?
I think, yeah.
I mean, that is basically saying that a skilled, experienced actor such as Tim Allen, who's been around forever, cannot do a role with sort of, you know, a bit of gravity, a bit of drama, you know, like have some sort of emotional integrity. What? Of course you can. He's an actor. He's
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
what the hell? All he had to do was to reimagine Buzz Lightyear in an emotional, vulnerable way.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Do you know what I reckon? This is my opinion. By the way, I'm going to say it. You heard it here first. Everything we say in these podcasts is our interpretation and our opinion. Okay?
It's not mine.
Excuse me? It is yours. But you know what I think that
Everything you say.
It was about
Everything you say is not my opinion.
It was about money, and I think that Chris Evans is a bigger star at the moment, and I think that's what that's personally what I think. That's what
There's
I
so
think.
many Chris's around. Chris Pine, Chris Pratt, Chris Evans. Honestly, I get confused, so I don't even get it. It
Yes.
doesn't work for me.
That's right. Okay, look. What's your first impression score?
Yeah.
That's what that recording was all
that.
about.
That's the bugle. Was waiting for that.
First impression score. So
yeah.
as soon as you walked out of the cinema, Will.
Yeah, mine was a 7. 7 out of 10.
Right.
What was yours?
Mine was an 8.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You
And
liked
I
it.
think it possibly could have been higher had we not had a screaming child in the cinema.
Yeah, so we made the mistake of going during the day on school holidays, and we didn't realize it was school holidays until we walked into the cinema and noticed it was full of kids between
Yeah.
the 5 and 10.
And I just went, why are there so many kids here? And you're like,
Yeah.
it's school holidays. I'm like, oh, God.
So we
No.
moved into the corner of the cinema as far away from the children as possible. And but
Stop it.
unfortunately
You're
for
going to have a
us,
baby one day. Come on,
yeah,
stop it.
unfortunately for us, a mother was sitting right next to us, and she had her child who was probably about 7, and neither of them were paying attention to the film at all.
She was on her phone. I'm not joking. The entire
The entire film.
friggin' film.
Yeah.
And
I don't think she looked at the screen once.
No, the kid was in the aisle a meter away from us, screaming and yelling.
And
for
playing with toys.
the whole time. She
Yeah.
didn't say anything.
I know.
What is
Jesus.
going on?
And then she took herself and the boy out at one point, and
And we were
like,
like,
thank God.
we can actually concentrate.
And then they came back.
They go back. Go away.
Why? Neither of you are paying attention to the film.
No, look, I know it must be so hard being a parent.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you know your kid's going to do that, or if your kid does do that,
Yeah.
have a bit of respect and, you know, go somewhere else.
I
Or
think so.
Go to a quieter area of the cinema.
Can't
or
they go to the park?
Yeah. They wouldn't have been
Seriously.
watching it. Anyway, should we actually review a film today, Will? Or
I
should we
think
just
so.
chat?
We're frothing a bit.
We're frothing.
Yeah. Let's get to story, shall we?
Story score.
Oh my God.
The story score.
Excuse me. You just
Wow.
you spoke through it. I'm going
Ah.
to do it again because, you know, you spoke all the way through it.
The story score.
It's just story score. So we always
Story
start
is life,
with
so
our
that's epic.
Sorry. We always start with our first impression scores that come out of the cinema. Then we analyze, don't we?
Yeah, so the first impression is like, you know, what do you think as soon as you walked out of the cinema? Just like, you know, and that could be, you know, you like stuff that you like, I like stuff that I
Yeah,
like. What
yeah.
did you just think? And now we're going to analyze it. We're
Come-
going to look deep
well,
into the story.
How about we actually do that then, shall we,
Yes.
today?
Yeah, well, one of the things I wanted to talk about first was how long this story took to get going.
Yeah.
Now, you know, usually in a 90-minute Hollywood film like this, you know, that is constructed to have as many screenings in the day as possible and sell as many tickets, you're looking at around about the 25 to 30-minute mark that the story actually goes from Act 1 into Act 2. The adventure
Absolutely.
starts. We meet all the new heroes.
Yeah.
The heroes and his merry team.
We call it the crossing of the threshold,
Crossing of the
which is
threshold,
an
that's
emotional
right.
commitment to the journey that's about to happen, and
Exactly.
usually it falls in the 25 to 35-minute mark.
That's right. The hero makes a commitment, and now we're on the adventure. We're into Act
Yes,
2.
and you know when it happens, everyone knows. It's actually my favorite part of the entire story.
Yeah.
It's when the music wells, and usually they cross a barrier. They'll cross a bridge, or they'll go through the forest, or they'll
Yeah.
There's a
Their environment changes
yeah.
in some capacity.
There's a passage there.
Yes, yeah.
And it's lovely. We love it.
This film took quite a long time to get there. I suppose there was a lot of world building that we had to get, accustomed to. So there was new characters we had to meet, but also, and this Pixar does this better than anyone, there was a relationship that really needed to be established in Act 1.
Totally.
And that takes time. But Pixar have a special skill of doing it faster than anyone, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they did this wonderful montage at the start of this story between Buzz and Alicia Hawthorne, which is like his partner in crime. You know, they're space rangers together. They go and explore the planets, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But after they get marooned on this planet, on this particular planet, which is actually called Takana Prime, which is 4.2 million light years from Earth. Just thought you'd like to know that.
Wow, that's life-changing.
Just thought you'd like to know that.
They're not getting back to Earth anytime soon.
No, they're not. So they're marooned on this planet, and the only way that they can get off is if they get this particular fuel source.
The crystal.
The crystal, and they manage to hit hyperspeed to get off the planet. And so Buzz spends many, many years trying to hit hyperspeed, trying to, experimenting with different fuel sources and things like that.
Yeah.
But every single time he goes out and tries this particular hypersonic loop, 4 years are added to the people that are back on Takana Prime.
That's right, yeah. So we see this montage where 4 years at a time are passing and passing and passing, and Buzz doesn't age a day, well, a few days, but
What? A couple
Alicia,
of hours. I mean, he's only up there.
That's right, hours. Yeah. But Alicia, his partner, is going grey, having a relationship, having kids, or a kid. Seeing the kid go to college, like it's a beautiful little montage.
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's reminiscent of Up.
It is. It's got that element of Up because there isn't a whole lot of dialogue within the montage, but there is this building of a relationship. And spoiler alert.
Spoiler!
Alicia does pass away, but not before they had that beautiful moment.
Yeah, well, we don't actually see her pass away. He just comes back from one of his missions.
Yeah.
And, we're years and years in the future, and she's gone from her desk. And there's a hologram there that she plays. By the way, what's the character? Alicia is played by Uzo Abudo.
Right.
Right? Do you know who that is?
No, I don't.
From Orange is the New Black.
Oh, right. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Which I think I'd really like her. She's amazing. She plays this hologram, and we cry because she does the to infinity and beyond with the finger thing, and it's
beautiful.
wonderful. Go see it. What were we talking about there?
Well, that was the long act 2. So we had
right.
to long act 1. We had to establish all those details, build that relationship, and then finally, when Buzz lands back onto the planet.
So you think it's quite late?
I think it's quite late. I'd like to know at
the
what
actual
point
time
it felt.
Yeah. Will and I, we watch a lot of movies, and we're used to watching it with subtitles. Like standard, we watch with subtitles, and standard, we can see the timeline down the bottom.
That's true when you're watching streaming.
Yeah. So when we can actually see when scenes, fall in the timeline of the film. But when you're watching it at a cinema, you don't get those luxuries.
That is true. I could be wrong. We could go back, and it could just feel like they just packed a lot into that first act.
Yeah, and it might have just felt long. Yeah, absolutely. But I agree. It did feel like it took a long time to get the story started.
It also could have been the kids.
It could have been the kids. Oh God, shut up.
We were just sitting there fuming.
Yes.
But yeah.
So just and in that montage, Will, I don't know if you noticed, but there was a bit of a kissy there.
There was, wasn't there? Yeah, there was a lesbian kiss.
There was a lesbian kiss. Now, listen, that lesbian kiss went for, I'm not even joking, 30 half a second,
a microsecond.
It was literally reach in, peck and out.
Yeah.
And because of that kiss, this film was banned in 14 countries.
What the hell is going on with the world?
Like seriously. So I'm not going to mention which countries they are, but some in the Middle East and a few Asian countries.
When you deny that visual representation of the LGBT community, it just does a disservice to so many people. It spreads hate, narrow-mindedness. It's just it doesn't promote humanity in any way. And all those kids that are figuring out who they are, don't get to see themselves on screen, which is so important.
Yeah.
I'm a believer that any representation is good, just to be able to see ourselves on screen.
Oh,
to be able to,
absolutely. And what I really respect about this that I've read is that initially, Disney, the big company, said that they were considering removing it from the, as you would, as a commercial enterprise, where it's like we're
they've got shareholders,
talking millions and billions of dollars in shareholders and things like that. But, you would perhaps consider doing that. What I really love is that Pixar wrote a letter. All of the staff at Pixar wrote a letter to them saying, "No, you have to keep it in," and they did it, and they left it in. So they've just gone, "Stuff you, those 14 countries. You can just not show the film." I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, great.
Kudos.
Yes, that's how the world is going to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
People saying no, standing up to
say no.
Say no.
Jesus. Right.
You're good at saying no.
I know. So listen, we want to talk a little bit about the amazing representation of the villain in this story. Now, spoilers alert, we're going to absolutely destroy the twist.
Look, if anyone's listening to this podcast, you have to know that we spoil everything.
You have to. You should have gone and watched this before listening to it, let's be honest. This film was remarkable in that there's this fantastic twist towards the end where Buzz... he's fighting the evil Emperor Zurg, who was in Toy Story 2 as a toy.
That's right. I was waiting for Zurg. I was like, you got to bring back Zurg. You got to bring back Zurg.
I was waiting for Zurg. And shock horror, he realizes that actually it's his father. Like his, not his father. it's himself.
But just on that, there is that reference to Toy Story 2 where I'm frothing. The second Buzz actually misidentifies Zurg as his father. Oh, Zurg is his father. No.
In
Toy Story 2.
From memory, in Toy Story 2, Zurg is his father. There's that callback to Star Wars where he says, "I am your father."
That's right.
And we all laugh. So there is that moment. Did you notice that when Buzz first saw Zurg in person? No. Zurg took off his helmet and revealed that it was actually a person.
Yeah.
The first thing he said was, "Dad."
Father?
Did he say father?
I think he said father.
Father.
Yeah.
Which is a callback to Toy Story 2, which is wonderful because we're going to talk about the atonement with the father just a little bit.
We are. So this character in the twist is revealed to be Buzz, but so many years in the future, and evil Buzz, because he turns out to be bad, wants to go back in time and erase all these beautiful moments that the real Buzz Lightyear has had with these people that have meant so much to him.
Yeah.
But, it's under the guise of them being able to get back to Earth, being able to get the crystal, the regenerated crystal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean... a really great representation of a villain is that they are a representation of the protagonist's neuroses. Well, I mean, we've spoken about this before. Go and listen to our Bridesmaids podcast. So you see it in every film. When there's a really strong villain or a villain at all, they most of the time represent the protagonist's neuroses. Now, what does that mean? A neuroses is a series of bad habits or flaws or weaknesses that the hero has because they are missing something. Now, we always say they're missing a value. In this particular film, we believe that it had something to do with family or community
and connection.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, from the very beginning, Buzz, and even in the Toy Story films, he's reflected as a character who doesn't need any help from anyone. He's a lone ranger out there,
absolutely,
trying to chart the uncharted territories of space all by himself. He doesn't need any help.
Absolutely.
So it already, this actually is sort of a common binary that we see in a lot of stories where there is one side is I can do everything by myself, I'm alone, I don't need any help from anyone, and the other side is I can only do things with people. I have to get help. I can't do anything alone, and both of those are perversions. So for Buzz, he needs to find that connection with people and be able to ask for help and do things in a team. Whereas maybe that other character that I was talking about needs to stand on their own 2 feet.
Absolutely.
And each of them are two sides of the same coin.
Totally. And I mean, the role of a villain is to represent the worst place that hero could possibly fall. The worst version of themselves that they could possibly become if they don't acquire that thing that they're missing.
That's right.
That you were talking
beautifully, about. The evil Buzz represents the eradication of all those connections and that reliance on other people.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Friendships.
I mean, we see evil Buzz as this person who, he's by himself, right, on this ship. He's surrounded by machines and robots lost in time and space. And as you said, wants to come back and change time and eradicate the very characters, or Izzy really, and Buzz's newly formed family. He wants to delete them entirely from existence.
That's right.
To reset time for his own selfish ways.
But it's under the like I said before, it's under the guise of they never had to be stuck on that planet in the first place because the whole community has been stuck there for generations.
Yes.
And in the first few minutes of the story, after Buzz makes the mistake of getting them trapped on that planet, he entirely regrets his choices, and so we can see this as
redemption.
As redemption for him.
Yeah.
You can see why he wants to do that.
But just on that moment that you spoke about, that very moment when he did crash the turnip-shaped ship, which looks ridiculous, by the way, but I love it. At that particular moment, he's trying to get up this. He's trying to fly the ship up this cliff towards the sky, and this character. And I forgot, he has a really weird name, Featherhampton or something. I can't actually pronounce his name. He's like a rookie, and he turns to Buzz and he said, "Do you need help?" When he's in this moment, he's hanging onto a chair as they're going up. He said, "Can I help you?" They're the only two people in the cockpit. And Buzz says, No, I can do this myself. And of course, that's his massive flaw. That's his neuroses, because he can't accept help from anybody else. He's a lone ranger, as you said. And that's what precipitates the crash and then everything. Yeah. Now that causes a split in time, where one version of Buzz just barrels down into the worst version of himself, ends up going up into space, meets the robots, has his entire life by himself. And that's this evil version of Buzz that comes back in time, and he literally meets his self, his actual self, which is the worst version of himself.
Yeah. So this is really, really crystal clear, beautiful storytelling.
Beautiful storytelling.
Fundamental storytelling, where this neuroses, this villain represents the protagonist's neuroses.
Yeah, absolutely.
So clearly.
We see this in just about every film where the villain represents the neuroses, as I said. But some do it more obviously than others. Like we saw it in Spider-Man 3, Sam Raimi's one, where he was literally fighting against a dark version of Spider-Man. I think Venom does it as well.
Yeah, there are a few other films. There's some horror films. It's quite common because in horror films, just very generally, you are often the evil thing, the nemesis is a representation of the self, but it's more clear because they're this evil creature or vampire or werewolf or whatever it might be. So it's not as maybe unclear as some other genres.
Yeah, totally. And going a little bit deeper, going into sort of the primal zone of what this is all about. We know that stories are essentially about the primordial family. It's about the life, the birth. I'm frothing. The life, birth, and death of a child. It's about a child being born, leaving a mother's breast, overcoming the rivalry with a father, and going off and meeting somebody and having a legacy. That's basically it's a lifespan.
Yeah, if you want to blow people's mind, tell them about how every story charts that same
life
cycle that we've all been through for millennia.
Cycle.
The cosmogonic cycle.
There you go.
How to sound smart at parties.
That's right. There you go. But this particular point that we're talking about is it's called the atonement of the father. And often we see, whether it's going to be a father figure or whether it's going to be meeting themselves, it's all the same thing. Is that the father and the self represent that darkness that needs to be overcome.
That's right.
The old habits, the old shell of themselves, in order to be reborn.
Yeah, we saw this in Shang-Chi, and you can go listen to our Shang-Chi podcast as well. They had a really strong father figure that needed to be overcome.
That's right.
But this one, we're going back to the joke where, the reference where Buzz says father. This character often is a father figure.
Absolutely. And obviously the ultimate thing that they need to do is they need to atone. Now, whether that atonement is a conversation where they resolve things with the father or they realize something that they hadn't seen before. So they might think the father is a certain evil entity doing evil things, but in actual fact, they're not. They're actually, the flip side. So they have a revelation at that point. Or whether they actually kill the father figure, it's all part and parcel of the same. They are literally killing off their old selves in order to go off into the wide world.
That's right. They're removing that negativity, that neurosis from the world.
Yeah, totally. And this film did this so well. So brilliant. You must see it.
And so creatively. Going on, one thing about this film that I really loved was just how creative it was with some of the scenes, you know?
Yeah.
You don't have to be restricted in creativity, good structure and fundamental storytelling, primal storytelling like that, can just make it so creative,
And Pixar do it so well.
They do.
Sometimes you look at some of their ideas and just go, how did I not think of that? Like, it's so obvious, but also so not obvious.
And also,
you know?
I mean, sure, they referenced a lot of other great sci-fi films in this film. I remember there was one for Alien. There was others, wasn't there?
Lost in Space.
Lost in Space.
Star Wars.
Obviously,
Return
Star
of the Jedi.
Wars. Yeah, 2001.
Yeah.
Lots of that, but they also made their own, unique situations and unique callbacks and things like that. The ways that they created their own world within those very recognizable sci-fi tropes.
Yeah, absolutely. They had a really great midpoint. Just really quickly, I mean, if you haven't seen it, where they're inside this ship or something, don't they? And they get caught in these laser beams that hold
these red cones,
and they can't escape from these red cones unless they work together. And if the cones hit each other, then they sort of like bubbles get absorbed into each other.
They merge.
And it comes down to this sort of ultimate moment where Buzz is separate to the rest of his team, and this is his.
And the only way that they're going to get out
is if he joins into their bubble and they work together. It's his worthy choice. It's the middle part of the story.
But of course, after that moment, he falls back into his old ways, his old habits.
He does,
as we expect to happen.
As you expect at the end of
after a worthy choice or worthy action.
That's right. At the end of Act 3, we have 4 acts in our story model, which you'll learn about in our story course.
Yeah, coming soon.
Coming soon. So coming soon. There's one more thing we need to talk about just before we go, and that is now we wanted to talk about Izzy. So Izzy's our polar character in this story.
Yeah. So as soon as Buzz crosses into that Act 2 that we were talking about, he meets his merry band of space rangers,
misfits, and they are misfits.
They are misfits.
Usually, when a character goes into they usually meet misfits in some kind, and these people were misfits. One was a convict, one was just silly,
a ditz.
A ditz. Yeah.
But one of them is Izzy, who is Alicia's granddaughter.
Yes.
So, I mean, Izzy is that polar character. She would represent the other side of that binary, the other side of that coin that we're talking about here. She is someone that is all about connection and working as a team, working together. And it's through their relationship and through that conflict that they have to each other that Buzz is able to change.
Yeah, absolutely. Now going on the binary that you spoke about before, you would she has to be missing something.
That's right. Yeah.
So a character who's the opposite of what Buzz is, and we know Buzz is written lovely. You would expect her to sort of have a lacking of self in some way because she, her perverted self would
like
be
we were saying, not be able to stand on her own 2 feet.
On her own 2 feet, she wouldn't be able to operate without her team members around her. So she has to kind of learn to do things on her. And as I'm speaking about it, I'm realizing that actually did it really well, Will.
That's right. We were going to critique this.
We were, and now I'm speaking myself out of it.
Yeah, she did. There's this great scene. There's probably this ultimate scene for her is where she has to cross this space void all by herself.
Yeah.
And she's very, very hesitant and very apprehensive.
Just throwing in there, she is she has what's it? Astrophobia.
Oh, she has astrophobia, which is probably like agoraphobia in space.
Yeah, she's absolutely terrified of space.
Yeah.
And must be terrified of floating away and being out in space by herself.
Alone.
Dun,
dun. Yeah. So it's written perfectly.
It's written perfectly. We were
Damn you, Pixar.
We were going to critique.
Do you ever get anything wrong?
Oh, we spoke our way out of our critique. Damn it, you did it well. And anyway, this ultimate moment where Izzy has to cross a portion of space by herself and literally float over, and to save the day.
But just to go on that, on what we were going to critique. So we were like, what does this astrophobia have to do with that standing on her own 2 feet thing?
Yeah.
Because you see in some stories that are poorly written, or maybe not poorly written, but not as well thought out, that the fear that the protagonist might have has no relation to their value or no relation to the story in any way. It's more like just a little fun thing that's thrown in.
It's so superfluous. Look, this is the one thing that really gets me. It really irks me with the story. Like, I love Indiana Jones, but his fear of snakes, what does it have to do with his characterization in any way? It's just something superfluous. It's the same with Tom Hanks' character in the Da Vinci Code, who's a claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Now, I know that that's a series of books, but still, when you've got in a story, you have to use that.
That's right. We're not just talking about explaining why they're scared of snakes or why they're claustrophobic. I mean, in Indiana Jones number 3, I think it is, we see young Indy fall into a pit of snakes.
Yeah.
And, people could be like, oh, that's why you're scared of snakes.
No,
we're not talking about that.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about connecting that fear to the missing value, to the neuroses. So, for example, as we've just discovered, with Izzy, her fear of space is actually her fear of being alone. It comes from her flaw of not being able to be without people around her.
That's right.
And it's the same with the story that we're writing at the moment. We've got a tree who's afraid of heights. Now that absolutely works because this particular tree doesn't want to grow into a big tree.
That's right.
So you have to connect it to the neuroses.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, Pixar, you did it. You did us proud again.
He was proud, yeah.
Absolutely. Great story.
What was that? What was that? What was that?
Soz about
Actually
it.
sounded pretty epic.
So, yeah, look, I'm surprising Will today. Look, for next podcast, you'll expect these to come. So we've moved on to our final score. So this is the NMG, the Not My Genre score. So we started with our first impression. We did a bit of an analysis. Now we're going to give our final score. Does it hold up to your first impression score?
I'm giving this an 8 out of 10 now.
What was your first impression score?
7.
7.
So I've gone up.
So you've gone up after analysis. Okay. Now I gave it an 8. I was going to go down because of that Izzy thing.
Yeah.
I'm going up.
Wow.
I'm going up.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a 9. This film, unfortunately, has got a lot of bad reviews about it. You know, it's got a few.
I think
some good
I
ones.
really do think people are finding it hard to take within the context of the other Toy Story films.
Absolutely.
I think that's what it is.
I also think the whole Tim Allen, Chris Evans thing may have a bad taste in people's mouths. But really, if you step away from all that, this film is really fantastic.
Yeah,
It stands
and
on
from a
its own two
story point of view, which is what we like to focus on, it really hits all the marks.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what, Will? I can hear the music. It's been great.
Oh, it's been great getting back into podcasting.
Absolutely. And, you know,
Yeah.
this is going to be a weekly thing now, so
Yep.
stay tuned.
There's the commitment.
There's the commitment.
Crossing into Act 2.
Crossing into our threshold.
A
Yes.
series of trials and tribulations of podcasting coming ahead.
Absolutely. It's been lovely, Will. All of you out there in Storyland, we love you.
Stay tuned. Bye.